Hey guys, I hope y'all have had a good, restful couple of weeks off from school. I miss you guys so much. Hope y'all been enjoying this beautiful weather that we've had. I know I have, but hopefully y'all are ready to get back to work. I know y'all been missing Miss Weather's math class. So anyways, we're going to have everything on Google Classroom. Some of you may have packets that got mailed home. Your packets are exactly the same as everybody else's. Just make sure that if you do have internet access, you just don't have a device, make sure that you're logging on and watching these videos. The packets that we send home, these will be your notes for the entire week. So this packet that you're working on is Monday through Friday, and that's how it's going to be. We're going to send home packets week by week, or either post them online like we're doing here. Make sure that you're using Google Classroom to help each other. I know it's kind of difficult because we're not together. It's kind of hard to answer questions, but on the Google Classroom stream, feel free to ask a question in the comment. If I don't get to it and somebody else sees it and you know how to answer that question for your friend, do it. I'm totally fine with that. But just make sure that you're strictly just commenting math stuff, okay? If you have any questions, feel free to email me as well. I'll be checking my email pretty regularly. I'll try to get back with you within 24 hours, if not sooner. But please ask questions, ask your friends for help, ask your parents for help. But please make sure that you are learning and you're doing the best that you can. All right, so this week we're working on inequalities. What an inequality is a mathematical sentence that contains any of the symbols listed below. You should be familiar with these symbols because you took your symbols test that last Friday that we were in school, and these were all on that. So should be familiar with them. An inequality basically just means that something that is not equal to, okay? It can be less than or greater than or equal to, but it's not equal to. So it does not have just an equal sign. An inequality will have any of these symbols here. So the first one we have is less than. Another way that you can say it is fewer than. And that's, remember that symbol kind of looks like an L. I know it's kind of shadowy. I'm sitting in the sun. But the less than symbol looks like this. And if you straighten it out a little bit, it's an L. So hopefully that'll help you remember less than. Greater than is the open mouth first. Another way you could say is more than, or it exceeds. And then you have the less than or equal to. So you have that line underneath. So that means that it is less than or equal to. So it can be less than 8, or it can also be 8. Okay. So less than or equal to is no more than or is at most. And then you have is greater than or equal to. And that could also be said is no less than or is at least. Okay. So remember, anytime that you see is less than or greater than or equal to, anytime that you see that or equal to, it's going to have that line under it. Okay. We're going to go ahead and add dots in here for the next page of notes. So we're not going to be using these dots that I'm about to cover right now, but we will use it in just a second. So when we're graphing inequalities, you don't use the symbols, you use dots. So if you see less than is going to be an open dot. It's not colored in, it is just an open dot, like a circle, like an O. Greater than is also an open circle. Okay, so those two are the same. Less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, they have the closed dot. So this is when you color it in. Okay. So both of these are colored in. Okay. And again, we're not going to be doing those right this second, but we will get to those in just a few minutes. Okay. All right. So example 1, we've got an inequality. It gives it to us in words. It says fewer than 70 students attended the last dance. In symbols, we want to let S represent the number of students. Remember that it does not matter if you use S. You can use N or X. I normally use N or X, or you can use whatever letter is in the sentence given to you, like they're using S for students. But it does not have to be an S. It is not wrong if you put an N here or an X. Just remember, the only thing that I don't really want you to use is an L or an O, because then it kind of gets confusing. Are you talking about an L or a 1? Or are you talking about an O or a 0? So try to stay away from those two variables. And then right here we have our actual inequality. So because it said fewer than, when we look up here at our box, right here it says is fewer than. So that means you want to use this symbol. So that's why they said S is less than 70. Okay? You normally put your variable first because you read from left to right. But again, you can, it doesn't really necessarily matter the order, but normally you put your variable first. So try to make sure that you're doing that. So here's where it gets fun, and it brings in, it's kind of getting a little dark in there. Let's see if I can turn this light on. Maybe that helps a little bit. All right, so you can actually substitute a value, so we can solve these kind of like an equation. It says you can substitute a value for a variable in an inequality and determine whether the value makes the inequality true or false. So right here I've got a couple of inequalities, and you want to tell me whether that inequality is true or whether it's false. So it says 5y minus 6 is less than 14, and then it says that y is equal to 5. So just like an equation, you're going to plug that value in for y, and then you're going to solve the left-hand side and see what it gives you. So in for y, I'm plugging in 5, so that means I have 5 times 5 minus 6. Using those order of operations, you need to multiply first. So 25 minus 6 gives you 19. It says 19 is less than 14. That is not true. 19 is greater than 14. So you would say that this sentence is false. Okay. So you do have to remember how to solve those equations. I told you you're never going to get away from those. All right, next example, I have r minus 16 is greater than or equal to negative 12. And then I know that r is 4. So I'm going to plug in my 4 for r. So I'm plugging in 4. 4 minus 16. That gives me negative 12. So my inequality now says negative 12 is greater than or equal to negative 12. So looking at each little piece, the greater than and then the equal to separately, negative 12 is greater than negative 12. That's not true. But because it has that or equal to with it, negative 12 is equal to negative 12. So this whole entire inequality is true. Okay. So you can look at each side or each little portion of the inequality, the greater than and the equal to separately, to determine whether it's true or whether it's false. Okay. All right, so let's do some other examples on our own or together. I'm going to try to go kind of slow since we're not together. Hopefully this will help a little bit. All right, so it says write an inequality for each sentence. As you noticed, I had to take my nails off too. I don't think any of you have ever seen me without my nail polish. It's a sad day for Miss Butters. Anyways, the maximum diving depth is no more than 45 feet below sea level. So the first thing that you want to do here is you want to determine, okay, what piece of information is really important there? What is telling me something? So it says the maximum diving depth is no more than, okay, 45 feet below sea level. Looking back at your chart up here, do you see somewhere that says is no more than? Right there. So that means I'm going to be using the symbol less than or equal to. Okay? It's kind of like a matching game. Reading your sentence, what piece of that sentence do you see up here in the boxes, and use the matching symbol. So we're going to use is less than or equal to. I'm going to go ahead and write it down. And then you need to figure out a variable. They're talking about diving depth, so I'm going to say D. But remember, it does not matter what you use. You can use N. You can use X. But I know that the diving depth is no more than 45 feet below sea level. So D, that diving depth, is less than or equal to 45. And that's my inequality. Right, an adult male elephant can weigh over 12,000 pounds. Wow, that is heavy. So again, you want to pick out which piece of information is important. So they can weigh over 12,000 pounds. So over also means more. It exceeds. So what do you think? Over would be kind of the same as saying more than or exceeds. So we're going to use that greater than symbol. So a male elephant, so let's just say E. E is greater than 12,000 pounds. All right. The maximum fee for any student is $15. So the maximum fee. So what do you think? Can that be greater than? Can that be greater than or equal to? If it's the maximum fee, does that mean that they can pay $15 and they can pay anything less? Or does it mean that it has to be less than 15? Nothing here tells me that that it's less than 15. It's just saying that the greatest that they're going to make you pay is 15. So that means they can make you pay 15, or they can make you pay 14 or 13. So this is when we're going to say that it's greater than or equal to. Okay. So we're going to be using this greater than or equal to. So the student fee, so I'm going to say S, is greater than or equal to 15. I'm sorry, not greater than. This would be less than. The max is 15. So like I was saying earlier, it can be 15 or 14 or 13. You know what that was. Sorry. So this is less than. You're still keeping the equal to, but it's less than or equal to. Sorry about that, guys. So S is less than or equal to 15. Okay. And then number 4, it says you must be at least 38 inches tall to ride the roller coaster. So can you be 37 inches tall? No, you have to be at least 38 inches tall. So looking up here in my box, do you see anything that is at least? You're going to see greater than or equal to. So that means you have to be 38 inches tall or taller. So you could be 39 inches tall and you can still ride the roller coaster, but you cannot be 37 inches tall. So let's just say T is greater than or equal to 38. All right, so that is just taking your sentences and writing an inequality that matches that sentence. These next few examples, you're going to be plugging in those values of the variables and determining whether that inequality is true or whether it's false. Number 5, I have m plus 8 is greater than or equal to 5, and they tell me that m is equal to -3. So I want to plug in -3 for m. So that means I have -3 plus 8 is greater than or equal to 5. So then you want to solve that left-hand side. So -3 plus 8, different signs, so you're subtracting. So 8 minus 3 is 5. And then the larger number is 8, and it has a positive sign, so that means it's going to be positive 5. So 5 is greater than or equal to 5. So picking it apart, 5 is not greater than 5, but 5 is equal to 5. So this statement is true. Okay. Because it's got that equal to. If it was just 5 is greater than 5, that would be a false statement. But because it's 5 is greater than or equal to 5, it's true. Number 6, I've got 4 minus p is less than negative 2, and p is equal to 6. So again, I want to plug that 6 in for p. So that means I have 4 minus 6 is less than negative 2. So 4 minus 6, 4 is smaller than 6. So that's really the same as saying 4 plus negative 6. So you're subtracting, and then 6 is larger. So this is negative 2 is less than negative 2. Negative 2, sorry. So in this case, you do not have that equal sign there. This says negative 2 is less than negative 2. That is not true. Negative 2 is equal to negative 2, so it's not less than. So this would be a false statement. Would have to have that equal to there in order for that to be true. Number 7. B plus 12 is less than or equal to 15, and B is negative 1. So I'm going to plug that negative 1 in for B. So I have negative 1 plus 12 is less than or equal to 15. Solving that left-hand side, negative 1 plus 12, that gives me positive 11. So 11 is less than or equal to 15. 11 is not equal to 15, but 11 is less than 15. 11 is smaller than 15. So this would also be a true statement. Number 8, I've got j minus 7 is less than negative 8, and j equals 0. So I'm plugging in 0. So I've got 0 minus 7 is less than negative 8. 0 minus anything is anything, so you are just left with a negative 7. Don't forget that negative sign right there. So negative 7 is less than negative 8. In this case, it's a little tricky. When you're dealing with negative numbers, remember your number line. Negative 7 is actually greater than negative 8. Remember, the closer to 0 is largest. Okay, so in this case, this is false. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next page of notes. We are graphing inequalities now. So again, this is where our dots are going to come in handy. Okay, so remember, if it's less than or greater than, you would be using an open dot. If it's less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, you're using that colored in, that closed dot. Okay. So graphing inequalities, we can use these inequalities on a number line. It's going to help us to determine which value makes that inequality true. Okay. So again, right here, we've got an open dot indicates that the number does not make the sentence true. So that means it's greater than or it's less than. A closed dot indicates that the number marked does make the sentence true. So that would be a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. And then the direction of the line indicates whether the numbers greater than or less than the number marked make the sentence true. Okay, so looking at a couple examples is going to make a little bit more sense. Go ahead and minimize this. So example 1, it gives me an inequality x is greater than 8. It's greater than, so I know it's going to be an open dot. So you would put an open dot on the 8. And then because it's greater than, that means it's everything larger than 8. So your line's going to be pointing in the right direction. And it's going to follow the direction of your symbol. So this symbol, imagine like it being a little arrow. Your line is going to go in the same direction as that symbol. Okay. Example B, I've got x is less than or equal to 8. So again, my line's going to be going in the left direction because of my symbol. It's less than or equal to. So anytime you see that or equal to, it's going to be a closed dot. So you would color in the dot on 8. And then you would extend that line in the left direction. Because X would be anything smaller than 8 and anything including 8 as well. So in this case, 8 could make this statement true. So this could be 8 is less than or equal to 8. That would be true. Or you could say 0 is less than or equal to 8. And that would also be true. Okay. Example 2, you're going to be given the number line and then you will write the inequality that goes along with it. So my number line, the first thing I notice is that it's an open dot, so that I know that it's either going to be greater than or it's going to be less than. It is not going to have an equal to line underneath it. Okay. So I could go ahead and write X and then leave a space and write -2. Because my line is going in the left direction, that means it's going to be less than. So X is less than -2. So -2 would not be a solution for this inequality. It would be anything less than -2 because it's an open dot. That tells me that -2 is not included in the solutions for that inequality. Example B, I've got a closed dot, so that means it's either going to be less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. Because my line is going in the right direction, it's everything larger than 5. That means it's going to be greater than or equal to. So X is greater than or equal to 5. Okay. So remember, your symbol is going to match the direction of your line. And then if it's just less than or greater than, it's an open circle. If it's got that or equal to with it, it's going to be closed. Okay. So let's look at a couple examples down here now. We're graphing each inequality on the number line. So X is greater than 7. So because it is just greater than, it's going to be an open circle. So I'm going to draw an open circle on 7. And then it's greater than, so it's going to include everything that's larger than 7. So you would color in your number line to the right. So that is your graph of the inequality X is greater than 7. Number 2, I've got A is less than or equal to -2. So because it's got that or equal to, that means I'm going to color in my dot. It's going to be a closed dot. So at -2, I'm going to put a closed dot. And A is less than or equal to. So that means my line is going to go to the left direction in the negative direction. Because it's everything smaller than -2. And remember, this is the negatives. It kind of gets a little tricky. That's why you want to match your line in the direction of that symbol. Sometimes it's kind of tricky. You kind of think, oh, well, 1 is smaller than 2, so -1 is smaller than -2. Negative numbers are opposite. Okay, so -1 is larger than -2, just like we did on that last example on the first page. The closer to 0, the larger in the negative direction. Number 3, D is less than -4. It's less than, it does not have the equal sign, so it's going to be an open circle. So at -4, I'm going to put an open circle there. And then my symbol is less than, so it's going in the negative direction. Number 4, W is greater than -9. It's greater than, so it's going to be open again. I'm going to put my open circle on -9. And then it's greater than that, so it's everything in the right positive direction. Number 5, T is greater than or equal to -5. So it's greater than or equal to, so it's going to be a closed circle. So I'm going to put my closed circle at -5. And then I'm greater than or equal to, so I'm going in the right direction. And then this example number 6, n is less than negative 11. Less than, so it's an open circle. So I'm going to put an open circle at negative 11. And then everything's smaller than negative 11, so I'm going in the left direction, negative direction. So the main thing to remember is open does not have the equal sign. Closed, it is equal to. It's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. Okay. So that was going from an inequality to a graph. Now we're going to have a graph, and we want to write the correct inequality that matches that graph. So number 7, I've got an open circle. So it's either going to be less than or greater than. It's not going to have the equal to. In this case, I'm going in the right direction, which is always the positive direction, so it's getting larger. So this would be greater than. So I'm just going to use x for all of these. X is greater than negative 3. Remember, that symbol is matching the direction of that line as well. Remember, you can use any variable. I'm just going to use x. Number 8, I've got another open circle. So it's going to be a greater than or a less than. In this case, I'm going in the negative direction to the left. So it's going to be less than. So 0, or remember, we want to put our variable first. So x is less than 0. So that's going to be like an L, a slanted L for less than. And then number 9, negative 15 here, it's a close dot on negative 15, so that means it's going to be one of the or equal to's. In this case, I'm going in the positive direction, so it's going to be greater than or equal to. So x is greater than or equal to negative 15. And then last example, number 10, I've got another closed dot on 8, but in this case it's going to the left direction, to the negative direction, so it's going to be less than or equal to 8. So x is less than or equal to 8. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, re-watch these videos. If you get stuck on something throughout the week, watch the video again. You don't necessarily have to watch the whole entire video. Fast forward to the part that you're confused on, or look at the examples. If you get better, if it makes more sense to you learning from the examples instead of the explanation at the beginning, fast forward to the examples. Do what works best for you. But this video will be on Google Classroom, so make sure that you are re-watching it if you get stuck. Please try to use your resources in this video to answer questions before you come to me. Don't just come straight to me. Try to figure it out on your own a little bit, and then if you still don't understand, of course, come to me, email me, or comment on the Google Classroom thread. But right here on the next page of your packet at the top, it tells you what you should be doing. So today, on Monday, you only have to do the evens. And then Tuesday, you'll be doing the odds. Of course, we're not in school right now, so you can, if you want to knock out everything today and not have to do math tomorrow, that's totally up to you. But it is good to kind of practice these skills every day. So if I were you, I would just do evens today, odds tomorrow. And then the next page, Wednesday is evens, Thursday is odds. We actually were supposed to be out of school on Friday this week. So you don't have work on Friday, but of course, if you don't finish something up, you can always use that as an extra catch-up day. The answers will be posted. Please don't look at the answers and just copy them down on the notes, because that's not going to help you with anything. So make sure that you're doing the work first, and then maybe have a parent or a sibling check your answers for you and maybe put an X on the ones that you got wrong. And then you can go back and relook at them, okay? But again, whatever you think works best for you, know that I'm always here. Hope you'll have a good week, and stay in touch. Miss you guys.